By participating in this meeting, you agree that your image and or voice may be recorded and retained as part of this meeting. Pam, do you have a prayer?
I do. Dear Lord, during these conversations and discussions, we seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with the board in their deliberations and help them to be wise in the decisions they make for the good of all those who have placed their trust in their leadership. Give the board the insight to lead with integrity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, roll call, please, when you get a chance.
Supervisor Ledke.
Here.
Supervisor Milliburn.
Here.
Supervisor Olson.
Here.
Supervisor Searing.
Here.
Supervisor Parker is not in attendance.
All right. All right, let's move on to approval of the consent agenda. Consent agenda includes the approval of the November 26th, 2024 town board meeting minutes. Claims list, numbers 38635 to 38670 for $54,541.03, and regular payroll from November 6th, direct deposits 21726 to 21738, and electronic funds transfers numbers 21739 to 21741 in the total of $19,123.51.
There's one correction there.
Okay.
That payroll should be December 6th, not November 6th.
All right, thank you. December 6th, 24. All right.
I'd like to pull the claims out.
Pull the claims out. All right. That leaves the approval of the meeting minutes and regular payroll.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. All right. So claims list. What would you like to discuss, Carol?
Well, there's a bill in here for the HR consultant, and I have some questions regarding it.
Okay.
It's supposedly you and Chairman Parker met with the I guess it was Susan, right?
Correct.
And you discussed next steps. And I feel like the staff, well, first of all, I think some of us were left out of that conversation because we have no idea other than we have an HR consultant. We have no clue as to how she's being used, how the staff can use her, or any of that information. And I'd like to know how that will be addressed.
Okay.
And the other thing I'd like to know is, it says that she has the handbook. We paid Jason Hill a lot of money, $700 if I remember right, to go over the handbook. And is she gonna do the whole handbook again?
Well, I think going back, I didn't prepare for this, but going back in my recollection of the meeting that Mike and I had with her is all it was a cursory review to read through it and see if there was anything, you know, blatantly obvious from an HR perspective that we should revisit. That's what that was.
Okay, how are the staff gonna find out? I mean, she's our HR person now. How do they access her? What is the procedure? Is there a procedure?
There's not one defined. I'd have to go back and look at my notes on what we presented in the meeting, because I know there was the handbook and there was one other thing.
Okay, I'm just concerned about the staff being able to access her.
No, that's fine. And I think if you want more details, let's bring it back to the next board meeting. We'll just put that as an agenda item on the next board meeting, and then we can get into more of the details of that.
Okay.
Are you okay still paying her initial bill?
Yes, I just
Okay.
had some questions.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure. Okay. So then we're gonna have to approve that separately, so Again, now this is the claims list 38635 to 38670 for $54,541.03. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the agenda. Is there any modifications to the agenda that anybody would like? One that I would like to add on would be discussion, since Mike Parker announced at the end of our last meeting that he was not going to be here for a month. I'd like to add that onto the agenda just so that we can start some dialogue about next steps, where we go from there. I think that'd probably be new business. We can, if you guys don't object, I would say we just add 18 to the very bottom of the list. And we'll just finish up our meeting on that. Anything else? All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right. Fire department report. Come on up, chief.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Olson, supervisor, staff, and of course the residents. For the month of November, we had a total of 38 calls, 24 being medical. We had 9 fire or hazard, 2 service calls, 1 good intent call, and 2 false alarms. So to date, 289. Last year at this time, we had 292. So again, trending lower than last year. But this month we've been already pretty busy. So not a record that we are aiming for, but we might oversee that this year. Ridley Fire has some radios that they are selling for $750. We didn't put it in our 2025 budget, but a current radio was about $4,000. They are asking $750. Their initial 12 have already been spoken for, but they have a potential of getting 10 to 15 other radios out of their fleet. We were wondering if it'd be okay. We're looking for town board approval to purchase 10 to 15 radios through 2025 as they become available. And these radios are 2017. And they would replace the radios that we have from 2003.
All right.
Can you squeeze those out of your budget?
I think we could, yeah.
He's okay with her? Okay. Sounds like there's money for it. I'll make a motion that we approve fire department to move forward on the purchase of 10 to 15 radios from the Fridley Public Safety at the cost of $750 per radio. Is there a second? Was there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Discussion?
So we're guessing on how many we're buying? I mean, we're hoping to buy 15. They might have 10 available or what?
Yeah,
Because we're trying to approve a mythical number here.
right. The reality is the initial 12 have been spoken for. So they have 10 to 15 more that they will slot for us as they become available. So we don't know if it'll be 10 next year, could be 8, but I think the minimum will be 10 to 15.
Any other questions? All right. Motion's been made. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you, board. The fiscal year 2024 Assistant to Firefighter Grant has been submitted. I did share that grant number with Alyssa. So as we find information, and again, this is going to be for a utility rescue rig or grass rig. So we should probably find out early summer if we get this grant, but I will keep the board updated on progress of that. All the LFD firefighters have passed their fit test. That was through the Clary's Silver Package, so there shouldn't be any charge on that. Caleb Lado, one of our rising stars on the fire department, passed his National Registry of EMT. So if you see Caleb, extend the congratulations. That was it's a difficult test. And he passed. So congratulations to him.
Awesome.
Last but not least, Breakfast with Santa was another huge success this year. So thank you again for the use of the fire department. Santa was awesome. So, and we had I believe a record turnout. So it's very good. So with that, that's all I have.
All right, any follow-up questions for the chief? All right, thank you, chief.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
All right, road and bridge. I should have taken it off the agenda because I really don't have anything to report for this month, so we will forego that for this meeting. Number 5, school forest report. Bob?
Kind of gonna take 5 and kind of move to 6 at the same time, if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
So the school force survives on fundraising. They get no tax dollars. They get no money from the school district. They get nothing from anybody except the hard working students of that school that beg and plead for their parents to buy more stuff every single year. And our main thing has always been dining cards. When we started doing dining cards, maybe 8 years ago, we'd sell anywhere between 320 and 360 boxes a year. And get somewhere, I think we get $13 or $14 a box. So I can't do that math that fast, but so I think we normally get right around $5,000. Well, in the last couple of years, that's depleted to half of what we used to get. So now we only sell about 140 to 160 boxes, still try to get the same amount of things for the school force for the kids. I would say 95% of the money spent that they fundraise, the naturalist, I think, costs $1,800 to $100 a year that the committee pays for, where a naturalist comes out like 5 times a year, meets with all the classes. Classes go out, spend time in the school forest, all that stuff. So I kind of almost compare it to a road project. Road projects go up 20%, road budgets go up 5%. Pretty soon the road project just, there's no chance in the world you're ever going to make this thing happen. So they're having huge funding issues. The school forest chair and principal kind of approached the park board, kind of get the park board's thoughts on maybe helping out financially from the park board and the school forest and the town board. Kind of get financial help, seeing it ultimately it's a Linwood Park. It's our property. It's our land. We pay everything on it. We pay taxes, what taxes there is, and we pay for the outhouse, and we pay for the liaison to be there. But in Parks was rather joyous about the idea. Parks was not against it. So I want the board to think about that into the next year. I know we don't have time to do anything this year, but our main project this year, and this is the first project we've had in the school forest in 5 years, because 5 years ago we cut basically a path from north about a little better than halfway through it down to the boardwalk on the north end. They cut a trail for emergency vehicles, basically, in case something ever happens in there. And that was our last project. That was an $11,000 project 5 years ago. Well, now our latest project is $8,000, and we want to improve the health of our forest. There's a DNR guy who I'm going to bring to this meeting, one of these meetings, if I can get him out here to explain the health of the forest. We want to take 2.5 acre chunks of the forest and cut down every single tree smaller than basically a volleyball or a coffee can. Take everything else out and grind it down to the dirt. They say it's healthier. Now this is right out of the DNR mouth. This is not out of Bob's mouth, because I'm a carpenter. I like when trees get cut down, but they say a diverse forest is much better than just an oak forest. And that's what we have in there. Basically, we just have an oak forest. And if you ever go in there, the amount of deadfalls that are in there because of windstorms and oak wilt, it's almost nauseating. You go in there. I mean, I've spent hours and hours and hours with other volunteers just clearing trails, and basically how we clear trails now, if that trail is 6 feet, I cut a 6-foot opening in that trail and I throw that log where Supervisor Ludke's sitting, or I throw that log where Supervisor Olson's sitting. I don't throw it any farther than that. Well, there's actually chunks of path going out to the west that there's mountains of dead trees. And to clean it up would just be millions of dollars. So it's impossible to clean it up. But the School Forest Committee and the DNR want us to start improving the property, not just let it go. Years ago, when they wanted to put the power lines that are in front of my house, it was actually brought up that why don't we put them into the school forest on the back side of the private property across the street from me on the north side or the south side of 26. And back then, nobody wanted to touch it because everybody wanted it natural. Leave it natural. If God knocked it down, I mean, it's almost like Yellowstone. If God starts the fire, you let God put the fire out. But now the DNR, with help from the DNR, we do not want to go in that direction. We want to start making the forest healthier. So I'd like the board to think about, when we get into budgeting next year, which is about 6 weeks from now, we get into budgeting to start thinking if it's possible with kind of approval from the Parks Commission, if we can slate some money towards helping out the School Forest Committee, or else the School Forest Committee is just going to go away because they just can't survive on their own. They've talked about different fundraisers. They've talked about sending the letters to whoever may give money, but they're not a 501c. So they're not the type of group that's going to get money handed to them, because if I can't get a write-off on it, I'm not going to hand you money. So that's the problem they have too. But I just want the board to just think in the next 6 weeks, when we start budgeting, if it's possible, when it comes time to the park board budget, if we can think about a chunk of money every year, if we can start putting aside to help in that school forest. You know, for the 12 years I've been volunteering in there, it's gone from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 volunteers to 6 volunteers, but every volunteer does it the same way. Their kids are in the school, they volunteer, they do everything in under their power to help out. As soon as their kids move out, and I don't blame them for this, as soon as their kids go to a different school, they just kind of follow their kids to that other school, and I don't blame them a bit. But right now, I'm the only one who does anything in there, and I'm kind of slacking because I just don't have all the time in the world to go in there and do anything. But I still cut trees in there as much as I can. But I just want the board to think about next year. That's why this is here, just to think if we can start putting money away to help the quality of the school forest that we own. I mean, some people will say, I don't want to give them any money because it's a school. It's a school. It's not the school. It's still our park, and what we're doing for the community, what the school forest does for the community, I think is enormous. I think it's incredible what happens in that school forest. We have a principal who absolutely loves that place, loves the school forest, loves the kids going out into that school forest. 3 principals ago, he said, I will never go out there because I believe in math. So these kids will never go out there. Well, the principal we have now is phenomenal, and she loves it. So just something to think about. I don't want it to go away. So let's just talk about it in 6 weeks when we start figuring out how we're going to afford 25, but we can do that. The JPA, I want everybody to, I wanted 2 weeks ago when I asked the clerk to get everybody the JPA, I just want everybody's understanding on it, because some people have different understandings than I have. Some people about a mile south of here says it's the township's responsibility to do any maintenance at all. I don't know what the word born means. In the, I tried to highlight it. It says that a maintenance. It is further agreed that the responsibility for improvement and maintenance of the facilities on the property shall be borne by the town of Linwood. I don't know what that means. Borne, does that mean it's ours? It's our maintenance? Shaking your head up and down, so that must mean it is our maintenance. Is it because the school forest committee, again, we're hard up on money and we're trying to find other funding situations, but they just think if it's the township's job to maintain it, then it's our job to maintain it. But I don't know. I mean, if the township, we all know how money is with parks. Unfortunately, we spend about 65% of our money on cutting grass. And the other chunk of money is maintenance on our parks. And I mean, if we can hire somebody to fertilize, if we can find somebody to fertilize, if we can find fertilizer, a lot of money goes into that. This year has been a great year because I don't believe we've turned the sprinklers on.
Not
I
this year.
never turned the sprinklers on. So that, I mean, that saves a pretty big chunk of money. Last year, we never flooded a hockey rink. Or if we did, we didn't do, I think we might have had a hockey rink for 9 days last year. So we didn't have a lot of water in there. So if the township has to start doing maintenance in the school forest, 90% of the maintenance I do in the school forest is when the school calls me and says there's a tree either fell across the paths or there's widowmakers hanging around the paths. And that's when they call me and I'll go in and I'll cut the trees out. Just because, again, it's the safety of our people walking through the forest. If you ever drive my house on a Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, drive by my house and look at that parking lot. That parking lot has cars in it every single day of the week. It's insane, the people that use that. So again, back to 6 weeks from now. If it's our job to maintain the school forest, it's not going to be cheap at all. Because, I mean, what is it? What do we bill out maintenance workers at? I mean, with benefits, $60 an hour, maybe. I mean, it's going to take a big chunk of money if we're going to start maintaining it ourselves.
Was there ever any estimates on what it was gonna cost? You said there was 2.5 acre chunks that you guys were.
It's $8,000.
$8,000 for
It's
each one of
4,000.
those.
And I
Oh,
shouldn't,
4,000 each.
I shouldn't even say this. Shouldn't even say this because I do not have documentation and I don't have somebody like Supervisor Ludke brought up about the Anoka County said, we'll give you 90, we'll give you 100 grand for your generators. Don't worry about it. Well, I don't have what Supervisor Ludke requested, that documentation that says yes, because the DNR guy says, oh, I'll be able to get you half that money back. Well, I don't have that in the hand. I have the wish in the hand. I don't have the other thing in the hand. So I just want everybody to think about that because it's going to be coming down the line. If I can get the DNR guy in this building and explain why we want to spend $8,000. $8,000 was the bid we got from a local contractor. We got 3 bids for the project, 8, 15, and 27. The local contractor was 8. So we want to do that, but we're not going to do that until that guy is standing in this room right here, explaining to this group why we're doing it, what we're doing it. The school forest committee loves it, but this board makes that decision. So there's just a lot going to go on in the school forest in the next couple years, and funding's the biggest thing because we just can't. They're just having a hard time making money.
Well,
So
it's an investment for the township. I mean, so we've already got the investment.
it's a win-win, I think.
It's like not doing maintenance on a truck.
It's like South Linwood Drive.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that.
All
But
right.
no, but if we can think about that in the next 6 weeks, I have a school force meeting coming in 2 weeks. I'm just gonna explain to them that I talked to the board. I would still like a 50-50 volunteer maintenance at least. Because again, we can't afford to do all the maintenance in it. It would just be never ending. So this is something I'd like this group to think about.
So in the JPA, it also says that,
What page on?
so I think it's the first, yeah, page 1, 4 paragraphs up. Says whereas the Linwood Town Board has instructed the Linwood Park and Recreation Commission to develop a plan for the usage of the property. This was 1996 that this was put into place. Is there still an existence of a plan of, I would assume that if they planned it, it's the use and maintenance.
I don't even know if I've ever seen a plan. And this was 93, May 21st, 93. I've been on it for 12 years and I've never seen a plan. I know they have a stewardship plan, but that's totally different than this plan this thing's on.
And this was way before your time too. Do you know if there was anything ever scanned, or I know you scanned a ton of stuff, not that it comes to mind? Okay,
I know it's not right, and I hate to use that old saying, and that's how we've always done it. But in the 12 years I've been on the school forest, one time a Linwood maintenance person walked in that school forest. And that's because the road and bridge supervisor at that time had him go in because there was a tree that fell down. But other than that, it was always my understanding that it was volunteers only.
3 weeks ago was the second time.
Really? Nice.
All right. All right, anything else, Bob?
No, if anybody have any questions on anything, in the, school forest meeting, we're gonna keep talking about money.
I
So-
appreciate the information because of school forest, I've been on the board almost 2 years and it's been that kind of that little
It
thing that
is.
you hear about, but you really don't know a lot about it. So I think it's time that we all get back up to speed on it. So I appreciate.
Well, and
the
there's
update.
never, if it was asked once, why we don't provide meeting minutes and why we don't provide agendas, because it's not that type of committee that they don't have to have agendas or meeting minutes, so. We always have them if you want them, but they do not have to supply them.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Any questions for Bob? All right, we'll move on to number 7, then approve amended public works job description. Do you want to speak? You want me to?
The only reason I brought it back, I know Supervisor Olson had made or suggested some changes at the last meeting, but the board never formally approved those changes. So in order for this to be the current job description, just takes board action.
Perfect. Yeah, it looks good. I'll make a motion that we approve the new maintenance job description.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I haven't decided. I'll say it.
All right. All right. Motion passes. All right, thank you. All right, we'll go on to number 8, affidavit of interest. This was tabled from the last meeting. I think you
I can-
tabled it, Andy?
Yep. So I connected with Jason. This was one before where we had conflicting information from the attorneys, and in speaking with Jason, kind of defining a process of which I wouldn't put it on staff to be the notary for it. I will notarize it myself at that point, and Alyssa, with the consistency of the payments will hit monthly as opposed to twice in a month or what it might be. So form will come through, already notarized. So when payment's done, it's with the packet of payroll that the supervisors get. So
That'll take care of the timing and the notarizing of it.
correct.
Excellent.
But as to what form we're using, Andy just stated that because it's a liability on himself and that is his duty per contract in order to produce this prior to payroll, that he's taking care of his affidavit, so.
It's
I
a
just need-
statement of work that the individual does, so much like if he goes, it's old school township, so if supervisor's cutting the grass or plowing the roads, working on computers and website stuff, they fill out their information of what they did, so that documents match up with that. So much like any affidavit, someone states that they did their work, so.
That makes sense. All right, you good with it?
Do I have the board's permission to accept any affidavit that he hands me for payroll?
Is the format of it changing? I mean, I thought all it was the content that changed, not necessarily the questions.
Right, there's two forms on there, one that Andy had and then one that I had worked with Jason on. So now we still have two forms, but like Andy said, he's gonna be, would be documenting the stuff that he's outlining and getting compensated for, I guess. So right now you guys are just like a blanket approval. Yep, whatever Andy gives you, go for it. But
Well, the approval, so maybe that's the clarification. The approval comes in the claims because the affidavit is with the claim itself. So approving the claim, you're seeing it, you're reading it, you're approving it.
Because the affidavit is just your accounting.
It's
of
just my
what
accounting of what happened.
So the affidavit is just his accounting of what happened to explain it, but then the claims is the approval process.
Is this, we talking about fire department?
Yes.
Yes.
Does the chief approve all of the fire department payroll?
prior to it being paid, yes, he does.
So the chief would be approving this before you paid it, right?
Yep, so I go through the payroll and I send it over to Daryl and ask, is this okay to pay? Everything else, but then Andy, as him being a supervisor, needs to state that he is being compensated for work other than supervisory duties, so. And the scope of it and the legalities of it as well, so.
But he's still being paid as a fire department staff, so Daryl would still see it, right? I'm looking at you, Daryl. And he would approve it, right? Just like he approves everybody else's.
Does the chief approve the affidavit? I guess it's not on the chief, no. It's on the supervisor who is in contract with the township to do another duty as a firefighter.
That doesn't sound right.
Go
I
ahead, Pam.
think, I'm wondering if the confusion is the chief still approves the payroll. But this affidavit is from Andy to the township. Daryl wouldn't necessarily see this affidavit.
It'd be just like staff's affidavit when they do postings. When they mailings, they make a statement that they attest to this and have an affidavit like that.
My understanding is the board would need that before you can say yes to claims. You just need to see that.
It's just going to be, yeah, and
Right.
that's the formality of what the process, that's where you talked about defining that is. We wouldn't have two fire department gets paid monthly, so we shouldn't have two of them in a month. So in talking with Alyssa, that's the standardization that it would be there for the second meeting because that's lines up with the direct deposit, so.
Sure.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
It does and doesn't, but it's sometimes, yeah, like last month, the 25th happened before the date. So that's a board decision. If you want to withhold that direct deposit, it's the formality of the time planning up because we met on the 26th. But the claims would be to you the week prior anyways.
Is there a specific date that you have to submit the affidavit? It's just long as it's
As
before
long
the
as it's
payroll,
with the
right?
claims.
Yeah, okay. I think it's pretty simple. Any other questions, Carol? You okay with it?
No, but I just think if you normally a firefighter would work his hours and it would be approved by the chief before it came over here. And so who's gonna look at your hours to know if they're right or wrong?
It's, as I understand, it's still the same. If the chief approves everybody else's time, the amount of hours that they've worked, in their line of employment, Andy's is no different. He still reviews all of those. It still follows the same process. The only thing different is to make sure that we're following the law. Andy just has to make sure that he submits his affidavit that this is what he's attesting to before we approve the payroll.
Before
order
the
to-
payroll is, so it's before it's paid.
Right.
So like Andy and I discussed, if we get it within the first 2 weeks of the month, then we know that we're gonna have it before the 25th. So and the 25th is always monthly when I do the payrolls for. fire.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right. All right, we got that squared away. We'll move on to number 9. Committee member openings. We got Road and Bridge and Cemetery. Want to speak to it, Pam, or is there somebody else that's going to speak to it?
Just the board, when you accepted the resignation, typically the board will direct staff to advertise for those. And I guess I'm just looking for that. Because I know there was some people that were interested and maybe they could just get appointed. I guess I'm asking, are we going to put it out there for other interested people?
Oh, I'm glad you asked the question. From a road and bridge standpoint, yes, because the person that we thought was going to come on isn't coming on. I can't speak for cemetery. Do you want them to post for your?
We
open-
have somebody that's interested. I guess the question is bigger than that. Are we gonna always post for openings or are we just gonna take who wants to be on it? That's fine with me. We have a perfectly good candidate. Shake your head one way or the other. I just thought we always had to advertise, that's all.
Yeah.
I think it helps to advertise because you never know. I mean, somebody could change their mind. I mean, it's like anybody can change their mind any minute. So I'd advertise. If you need to advertise, advertise. You only got to advertise for a week and advertise for a week.
Has that been what we've done in the past?
Typically, yeah, the board will have us put out there to advertise if it's for one person or two people or whatever. Again, just kind of clarifying, does it even need to come from the board if you guys say, look, when there's an opening, we're
Yeah.
going to apply out there?
That's-
Then staff is just rolls right into it.
That's.
That
what
would, I would assume, yeah, just
'cause we
go with
always
the,
want to staff them anyway, so I would be in agreement with that.
And then like how long do you just want it brought back? Letters of interest? We want them within 2 weeks so that they can come back to the board or, I mean, I know Supervisor Milliburn said, well, you could just advertise for a week. Again, is that enough time?
Well, it all depends. I mean, if you do it for a week and you get 8 applicants, there's no reason to go next week. That's the only reason I made
Yeah.
that comment.
I'd say at least a couple meeting cycles, only because of learning what the website update process is. I know this, it go probably want to sign the next day, but to try and give an equal window of somebody catching up to the meeting, watching it on Saturday and having it close right away on Monday or Tuesday right away. So I'd assume at least let it go to the next meeting or 30 days, whatever.
We keep it open until it's filled. Cause I mean, we've had, I don't remember what it was, but we had it out for like 3-4 months last summer. And before we finally got somebody filled into it, I can't remember what it was for, but you know, that way it stays up until we get it filled. And once it's filled, you know, and the person's appointed, then I would say it can come down.
Well, that's okay, but we could fill it tomorrow. Right?
And if you advertise it and then you decide to fill it, then the ad comes down.
Okay.
Cause you're not gonna fill it until it's approved. So it's gonna be up still for a little period of time.
Okay, and then the person comes before the board and the name comes before the board and then it's approved.
And then it's approved, then the ad comes down. That's just my thoughts, cause I think it can stay consistent and it's clean.
That's kind of what I meant. I mean, when I said if you get 8 applications in a week, you take it down in a week. But if you get 0 applications in 8 weeks, well, then you leave it up. But again, even if you have somebody who wants to be on Road and Bridge, still put it out there for maybe a week. Cause again, if somebody changes their mind or if you get 2 people to put in, you tell one of them, you know what, if we can, we'll keep your name on file and if something happens to somebody, maybe we'll call you first and kind of save the day that way. But
Are you okay with that, Pam, or do you need board approval to do that?
No, I just some clarification on
Okay.
how do we want to handle it? Because again, that resignation was accepted maybe a month ago, so we've kind of lost some time.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to just be able to just roll. Just you accept the resignation. If there's an opening, we just automatically know we can just move on it.
Perfect. All right, thanks. All right, number 10, summaries of the employee reviews held on December 4th. Since you weren't there, Pam, I'm guessing you're looking to me to do this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I understand the statute right, so this is, we did some performance evaluations with some of the employees. And so this is just to explain what happened during that closed meeting. So on Wednesday, December 4th, 7 employees, evaluations were conducted between 10 in the morning and 5 PM by the Board of Supervisors. Each evaluation consisted of reviewing performances for the past 12 months, discussing the goals that were established the previous fall, and setting new goals for the next 12 months. That was part of the staff. There will be 5 more evaluation conducted, that will be conducted later this week. And then that'll be brought before the next board for a, to cover that as well. Right.
To address some concerns. We had several staff with concerns. And I think they were legitimate concerns, and I'm wondering how it is we're gonna handle those so they get addressed. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely. Would you like to, what's the board's pleasure on this? I mean, do you want to come have some short follow-ups for those that have further questions, or?
Well, I think they gave their concerns, and their concerns were us.
Okay.
And, or, something in particular. And I think that, you can't just let it go. I mean, it was more than one person that had a concern. And then I'm also concerned about, Natalie tried to bring up a concern, and it wasn't really accepted or allowed or something. I don't know what the right word is. And that is that, she's in a really strange position because she isn't allowed to use Google Docs. She's been told she can't, and she's a staff person and she follows that. She's been told by Mike Parker and TR and everybody that it's not it's not a program that's ever been approved by this board. And so when she gets minutes that are in Google Docs or an agenda that's in Google Docs, she can't do anything with it. And then she'll go back and she will ask if she can have it in a different format, and that never happens. I know that I think it was, I probably have it just a minute. And October 22nd, she asked for minutes. And this is now December and she doesn't have them. And
That was the issue where she got them, but they were links and not the meeting.
right,
minutes,
she
right?
couldn't,
Okay.
and then she asked for it in a different format. And she asked for help and she didn't get it. So we can't complain about her not putting things on if we're not gonna give it to her.
Mhm.
And this happens over and over and over again. I mean, we haven't put an agenda on for parks in 8 months probably, because it doesn't come to us in an approved way. And that's not fair to Natalie. So I'm just addressing this. So, I'm gonna be gone in the end of the month, and I was hope that somebody would pick this up and figure it out.
Here's what I would suggest, because I don't see that as affecting her performance review, but for those that have additional things that they'd like to discuss, because that's, like I said, that wasn't a performance thing on her. That was.
Well,
to
it
be
is a
discussion.
performance thing when people complain that she doesn't get it on the website.
I'm just saying, I don't see that there's a reason to come back and redo her performance
Oh,
review because of
right.
it. I think the performance review will stand on its own merit.
Right.
But I agree with you that some of these things that were brought up, we need to come back and deal with them independently outside of the performance review. That would be my suggestion, to keep consistency with all of the evaluations.
Yeah, I didn't see, well, maybe you saw issues. I didn't thinking about issues. I think they're issues that the board needs to deal with as far as the employees are concerned and, you know, what their concerns were.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
just would hope you would do that.
Yep, I've got it written down here. Like I said, we'll deal with that one outside of the performance reviews themselves. All right, thanks for bringing that up, Carol. All right, move on to new business, number 11, resolution 2024-23, which is certifying final levy for 2025. Is that you, Alyssa? Who's speaking to this?
So, back in September, we brought this to certify the final levy and the board said they didn't want to certify the levy and just wanted to wait and see. So I've got to have this in by the end of the week. So, just looking to certify the 2025 levy.
Perfect, I do remember that.
I'll make a motion approving resolution 2024-23, resolution certifying final levy for 2025.
All right, is there a second? All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion passes.
You're pretty quiet tonight.
All right, moving on to number 12, resolution 2024-24, revising cemetery standards and regulations. Who would like to speak to that one?
Are you speaking, Craig? Anybody have questions about it? The cemetery committee went over the regulations and just cleaned them up a little bit.
Anybody have any questions on it?
Is there a, oh, here's the red, this is the red line one, the second one?
Yes.
Yeah, so, are we on?
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah, you can see the red, the parts that were struck out or have a black line through them, or maybe it's a red line. And then the additions made are in red. So like on the very first page, we go to definitions. Mostly I kind of just moved things around so they, from my perspective as the manager, coordinator of the cemetery, these are how things kind of come to me. And so anyway, we have definitions and I added one to define resident. We didn't have a definition of what a Linwood Township resident is. And so most of this is really just kind of tweaking what we had in place for clarification. Trying to get the gray area out of our descriptions and our regulations. So yeah, little changes here and there. And then some additions too. I don't know, it's throughout the whole document actually.
Yeah, to me, it looked like there was a lot of it was just kind of correcting the wording and the terminology to it. And then a few deletions on it. Anybody have any questions on this or ready to make a motion? What do you want to do?
It might be a lot to read right now.
And your entire,
I'll make a motion that we accept the resolution number 2024-24.
revising of the cemetery standards and regulations.
Yes.
Right, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
I guess from me, maybe.
Okay,
I wanted to keep the spirit as I see it of the cemetery, the intentions of the purpose in mind, and just try and maintain a beautiful cemetery. it being a place for, for memorial of loved ones and a clean place. And also we're working on a plan for the south section, which is vacant right now. So we're working on that as well. But
And your whole committee is recommending the approval of this, right?
yes,
Okay.
we met and affirmed these
Perfect.
as a committee, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Do you have a rough sketch of I saw your stakes out there,
Okay,
kind of what the thought,
Mhm.
because that's the center line, correct?
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, center line of a 12-foot gravel driveway.
Okay.
I didn't bring it. We do have a,
Preliminary.
yeah, just a aerial photo. And I just drew it in. But if you've seen it on the ground, then you get a better
I just,
idea
yeah,
of
I'm verifying
the
that's
lay of the
the
land
center
through
line
there.
of it. Cool.
And that would
So-
have to be approved by the board.
Yes, and I think we probably should take borings down in the lower area to see where the water line is, and what the soil is like as far as putting in a roadway there, or how deep we can dig for a grave. So things
Sure.
like that, but that's probably springtime stuff.
All right, we got a
I just have one thing here. I think to me, when I looked it over, and I have to apologize to the board, when I put a Word document into the meeting packet, it takes the color out. So I've got to remember to make it into a PDF so that you get, so I apologize for that. But on page 5, under item 3, grave decorations, item 3, to me that stood out as something that is very different. And I just want to bring it to the board's attention. It is a change. Yeah, that what was added was after December 31st, 2024, anything other than floral items that are not allowed to be placed in the cemetery with the exception of flags, or are not allowed to be placed in the cemetery with the exception of flags on Memorial Day weekend and Christmas wreaths, December through January. And maybe Craig, if you can address why that's important from what you're seeing out there.
Sure. Again, from my perspective, but not just me. As you drive through there, you see lots of commemorative items. There's marbles, there's coins, there's toys. You name it, there's a lot of things out there laid on the graves or to the side. And the maintenance guys, they pick those up and move them, mow or weed whip, and they put them back judiciously every time. And it's a lot to do. It takes them 5 hours a day, 5 hours of time to just mow that. And, also a lot of these things just lay there. And you can tell they're never moved or, stood back up or anything. And some of them, like I've even found a shotgun shell there more than once. Somebody was a hunter, right? So here's my buddy, I'm gonna honor him. Well, can you imagine if a lot more ran over that?
Yeah.
There's some safety issues. And other things that are wired to something hanging on. The wire could get hung up in the mower, or some of these marbles and things, rocks with little poems on them, that gets hit by a mower, somebody could get hurt. So it's partly a safety issue, but mostly I'm talking about things that are unkept. And they just don't look, they look unsightly, faded. And so that's why also was a little, just above number 3, so number 2. Floral items shall be placed at either side of headstones in line with the headstone row and held with a metal shepherd's hook or a metal flower pot standpipe. So that takes these plastic floral arrangements, the cheap ones that you see that get stuck in the ground and blow all across the cemetery. That takes them out of that equation if they have to be held by shepherd's hook or pot or standpipe with a pot.
Sure.
Gets them off the ground.
Yep.
So,
It also gives us permission to take off the wreaths before Memorial Day.
yeah, putting a date on there. And honestly, I was looking at this just today and I thought, well, with the exception of flags on Memorial Day weekend, and I think we should probably also insert in the week of Independence Day for flags. I didn't realize that until just today looking at that. And that's a pretty big deal. So,
Craig, do we also do Veterans Day? There's a memorial service. They come and get the flags.
you mean as far as
Oh.
this, it wasn't
That's what I was
addressed.
thinking.
Yeah, include that.
I'm just asking for clarification.
Well, yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Oh.
So Veterans Day could be included. I've never really seen a new flag. set
Yeah,
out there
currently
then.
our only official ceremony is Memorial Day, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. We could bring it up at the next meeting, but
So do you feel like that one part that you said you didn't get in there that you want to get in there? Did you want to go back and correct this and bring it back before the board so that it's approved once, or or do we want to approve this and then you can bring it back later? But
The
if
board
we
can
could
approve
I'm
this
sorry.
with the addition of that line, and then I just add that to the regulation. So the board can approve it with a change.
okay. And what's the wording for what you want to put in there?
In the middle of that last sentence. Well, floral items are not allowed to be placed in the cemetery with the exception of flags on Memorial Day weekend, the week of Independence Day, and Christmas wreaths, December through January.
Okay. You gotta amend your motion to include that, Carol?
Yes,
Did we
I'll
s-
amend my motion to
Veterans
include
Day?
that.
You're okay with that, Bob? All right. Okay, we got that corrected. All right,
We'll talk about Veterans Day, I guess, at our next meeting then.
sure.
Um,
Okay. Any other discussion on this? All right. Let's, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
I,
All opposed, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
You know,
Yeah,
you know,
thanks,
before
Craig.
Craig walks away, I recently had a death in the family and my wife and my mother-in-law had to deal with Craig on some things up in the cemetery. And they could not stop talking about how incredible Craig is. So I want to thank Craig personally from my family for what you did for my wife and mother-in-law. It will never be forgot. So thank you very much.
Good to know. Thank you. You're welcome too.
Thanks, Craig.
Craig.
All right. Number 13, the Midco Fiber Optics Cable Project, JPA. Who's speaking to that one? Pam?
So this is, the board had, approved to go ahead and be part of a 3-entity group that was going to get ARPA money to be able to provide broadband internet to some communities in East Bethel, and Linwood Township. And so there's several documents that are involved, and there's actually a contract agreement between East Bethel and the county, because East Bethel is going to be facilitating this grant, even though all 3 city or entities are going to benefit from it. But along with that document refers to a joint powers agreement. And that's what this is a joint powers agreement that the township needs to, each city or township needs to go on. And it's really just saying that we're agreeing to allow Midco to come in to our community and put service in. And we're agreeing to, we can't agree to the other agreement because that's between the county and East Bethel, but this is, they can't move forward with that other one until each entity agrees to do it. The one thing that I did kind of go back and forth with the county on, and there's a line in there and it discusses, or maybe it's in the other agreement, but made sure that we have the right to be able to issue right-of-way permits for doing it. We did it with the other Midco project that came in here, and because Bethel does not issue right-of-way permits. We do, and we require them for it. Now, sometimes what'll happen is if there's several houses on a road, that's one permit. We don't necessarily make them get a permit for every household. But I did make sure that that is still, that we still have the right to continue to do those. So, but otherwise, that's what this is coming to. I don't know if you have any questions. I don't know if that was clear to you, but
Clear to me. Anybody got questions?
Makes sense. I'd make a motion approving the joint powers agreement governing the mid-continental communications construction of broadband infrastructure in the city of Bethel, city of East Bethel, and the township of Linwood.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes. All right, we'll go on to number 14, senior center repairs.
Hey, I've been doing a little work in the senior center lately, been talking to Sarah. Her and I have been chit chatting on some issues. One of them is a door closer. In the last tornadic windstorm we had, it about ripped the door off and the door closer was destroyed. I got a price. Is that in our computer, Pam?
Page 70
Yes.
starts the quotes.
Page 70. Oh, I'm at 62. I got a long ways to go. Okay. Oh, there it is. So the first one, commercial door system, it's a commercial closer. It's made for aluminum doors. The ones we have out there now are not really commercial style closers. It's $400. You're not gonna get any cheaper than that. I mean, I can call if somebody wants to call, but this is a guy I use at work, so that's why I called him right away. That's just the closer. I will install it. Right now, I think we're closing that door off. There's signs on the door that say use other door or something, just so nobody uses that. I did talk to Sarah and asked her if any part of that was damaged due to the renter that was propping the door. You know, we've all heard about him propping the door. She didn't believe so, but I still wanted to know that, so I still asked her about it. But I will install this, but it's $400 and Commercial Door System stands by their products, so. I'd make a motion to get a door closer from Commercial Door Systems for $400 and I will install it.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Number 2, Kramer Mechanical. Now this could have been a oops by me. In July, was it July when they were out here? They were out here to look at this exhaust on the kitchen dishwasher hood. The bearings are bad on the motor, the existing exhaust hood for the dishwasher. The motor is no longer made, so there's not a replacement motor above, so the entire hood should be replaced. My understanding was they fixed it. That understanding was wrong, so I take full responsibility for not having them fix it in July, and I don't think the price changed much since now in July. It was right around the $1,750 mark. This is the whole entire hood has to be repaired. The whole cap on top of the roof has to be replaced. Unfortunately, we get to add $250 because it's done in the winter and they got to get a machine out here so they don't fall off the roof. So I did that. So I'd make a motion to spend $1,785 for the new exhaust fan for the dishwasher in the senior center.
2,035. You're gonna add that
Go
extra
up to,
250.
not to exceed 2,100,
Okay, not to exceed 2,100. Okay,
then I'll second that.
total bid 1,785.
right, motion's been made and seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
because it's not on the actual.
I
budget
got you.
number.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
I hate to bring this up, but don't we have to have more than one quote?
Yeah.
We have to have more than one quote, but we're not doing that.
If you want to
anymore.
tell me to get another quote, I will find another quote.
I'm just
And,
asking
you
the
know, I
question.
understand that totally. You know, I did that for the water heater in the fire station or the water softener, whatever we just replaced the fire station. And I got two other bids and Kramer beat both of them by 12%, 15%.
I don't have any problem with
I
Kramer,
agree.
believe me.
You know what? If this board wants to tell me to chase one more, I'll chase one more.
Motion on the table.
I just asked the
No,
question.
that's okay.
Okay.
It was quite a discussion. So, my only question is that are we gonna need like a mechanics permit or anything like that to do this install?
Never asked Kramer that.
Cause that should be included in the price if we need a.
I'll call him tomorrow. Maybe we table this one. I'll call him tomorrow. It's been sitting for 4 months. Can't hurt to sit for another 2 weeks.
All right. Gonna rescind motions?
Yep, rescind mine.
Rescind.
Oh, you did that. Okay. All right. We rescinded the motion, so we'll table this until the next meeting. All right.
Okay, I have one more.
Yep.
I have a company coming out tomorrow to look at the ductwork up in the attic. The ductwork is obviously not insulated property. That's why we have a moisture issue. So I have a company coming out tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I cleared it with Sarah. She has nothing going on in there tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I will try to meet them here. So they're gonna give me a price. I don't know, to look at it tomorrow.
Is that where we were getting that little collection up? on
Yes,
the
sir.
side? Okay,
You are correct. So yeah, they're coming out tomorrow to look at that.
perfect.
So yeah, I'll get back in 2 weeks on that proposal. I'll get two of them on that. I'll get one more company out here, but again, these are just companies that I use all year long at work, so that's why I call them. And just to let everybody know.
At some point moving forward this spring, it'd be nice to have a conversation about preferred vendors. So we can get a preferred vendor list and that way we don't have to go through the multiple bids for a $400 purchase. I mean, it's just a lot of effort and asking contractors to waste their time knowing they're not gonna get a bid.
You're right. And then there's one more thing. I sent you an email today.
Yeah, Jack?
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, just have them talk to Sarah.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. We'll move on to 15, the 2025 schedule and meetings and the holiday schedule. And that was included in here. And was there anything that you wanted to point out on here?
Yeah, scratch the holiday schedules. You guys didn't get a chance to see that. That's when the office is closed and when recycling is closed, but you guys didn't have a chance to see that, so just the schedule of meetings.
Okay.
And this has gone to each of the committees, the town board. It hasn't come to the town board yet, but we really just don't have any conflicts this year because of elections or caucuses or anything. So the board typically approves this in December.
All right.
I only had the one question and I don't want to change it now because we'll have a new board, but the 11th, when Veterans Day, would we have to change that for next November? Is the conducting on the holiday,
What,
November 11th,
on which committee?
on the town board?
Fourth from the bottom.
Oh,
That's the-
So
Yeah, we can't, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
we could
right, we
po-
can't meet on that
we
day.
can't meet, but we could post it as this right now and then change it, or how do we want, I don't want to make it a date right now either.
I would make it because this goes in the posting boxes like for the year.
We do it the Wednesday?
We could do it and then change it if needed. I guess I'm just saying we're a year out with other supervisors that aren't here yet, conflict. So yeah, make it that Wednesday or whatever.
I don't know. I'm really
You're-
filled up and booked up right about
Yeah.
November of next year, so. I would say that no matter what date you pick, our schedules are gonna change by then, so I would put it on there for that Wednesday. And people have to schedule around it. Make that one, Carol?
sure, no problem.
All right, the
I was
11th
just looking
or
to see
the
if the
12th it is.
25th was Thanksgiving.
All right, so 11, 12, 25. That one change. All right, we have a motion to accept the schedule as presented.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2025 schedule of regular meetings
All right,
as amended.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, 16, review contracts. And
So each year the board needs to kind of think about contracts that, whether you want to continue with them or even just be made aware of what contracts you have. Now, obviously, this isn't all the contracts because your road maintenance contracts, they come up. You do them. I didn't put those on there because you'll be seeing those in January or February when we go out for bids. So they're not on there. And at the top are the ones that expire the soonest. So in the meeting packet, you do have one for the grave digger. He's offering a, oh, nope, I'm sorry, it was a 2-year term and he chose now to offer only the rates for 1 year, just because things changed the last time partway through. So, this is just saying what terms we currently have, but in your packet, you'll get to that one. Well, no, I don't have it specific there. But the next document is the agreement for burial services. And that does have, and the rates did change a little bit. That's the last page of the agreement there. For grave openings, cremation opens, and infant burials. So, that one needs to get approved because that one is going to expire December 31st of this year. And then if you want to come back to that one, then the other one to be aware of, Anoka County Economic Development Services. It was supposed to be a 5-year and then they extended it for 1 year with the same terms because they weren't sure how they wanted the program to go. And that one is going to expire on January 10th of 2025, but I've not gotten any information on that. If we get it before the next meeting, we'll bring it before the board. That's generally around $300 a year. And what the benefits that we've gotten from the EDA so far, they help work with businesses, if promoting business in Anoka County. So I get notices when there's companies that are looking for a parcel of land or a building with so many square feet. And then I pass that information on to planning and zoning. Planning and zoning has had the EDA specialist come to their meetings to help kind of explain to them too how you would move forward with business. They would help with business zoning, not writing our zoning, but kind of giving advice for it. So just, there's nothing to do with that tonight. Just that you're aware that it is coming up. Airgas is another one that the last time we signed a 2-year lease, that's for the oxygen and acetylene tanks that the guys have out in the shop out there. Again, just to help you understand what all is out there. Obviously, it will come to you for approvals. And then again, with Supervisor Ludke and then our grant writer, there's no expiration date on those. They're just ongoing. But again, just as a reminder of some of the agreements we have out there, and then the rest of them too, no action needs to be taken, but just to kind of give you an idea of what we have out there and what you might be looking, maybe in the future, you want to change something. Well, hey, when does that one come up? I really like our last one there, is Crown Castle. Again, that's a 20-year one. So for you that are still going to be pushing on the board in 2041, just so you're aware, I would say probably 5 years before this expires, the township will be approached by other companies that are going to want to buy that lease. That's on the lease on the cell tower across the road here. And they're the ones that pay us rent every month. And so It was a 20-year, it was actually a really good deal because it increases for inflation every 5 years. So it's actually ahead of the inflation that we, believe it or not,
Wow.
it's actually, because 5 years ago, the inflation wasn't as severe as it is now. So we're actually right there. So we get monthly payments on that. Do I have in here? Have one on the lights. I don't have one on the lights. But just again, just to put in front of you so that you're aware. So, I don't even know, Ed to borrow his memory. Well, I'm gonna say 5 years ago, the county and Connexus put, well, actually it was Connexus put streetlights over on Viking Boulevard at certain intersections. And we just pay the electric on them. But when that agreement is up, I believe it was a 10 or 15-year agreement. When that is up, and that's still got several years to go on it, when that one is up, then the township owns those and it would be responsible for replacing lights or maintenance on pole and lights. So again, I know some of this stuff is before some of the supervisors' time, but just to kind of put in front of you what's out there and what some of those agreements are and the terms. So again, not really the Gravedigger is the only one that's set to expire by the end of the year that there would need board action.
This is great information. Thank you for putting this together.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. All right, we scroll down a little bit. We got the agreement for burial services to deal with. Any questions? What would you guys like to do?
I would make a motion to enter an agreement for burial service with DNK Outdoor Services.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, review policies. A lot of policies there.
So I realized that the agenda I sent out before, I didn't have access to list them all out for you, but I've listed them tonight. And the intention isn't that you're going to go through every one of these policies. Again, it's to make you aware.
Just staying on, there's another contract in here for street sweeping. Was that as part of the review or
Oh.
the action on?
That one is going to take action. This was a few meetings ago. Supervisor Olson informed the board that we weren't going to be doing all the street sweepings, and I said, with this contract, we need either a change order or amend the contract, and that's what this is amending that street sweeping contract. And it kind of lays out what the status is and how we got there and stuff, and then it just shows where those changes would be. This would be a document that's signed by the town board, if the board approves it, and then also by the contractor. So in the future, when the auditor looks at contracts or an attorney or anybody else looks at the contracts, they can say, okay, you agreed to do 4 street sweepings, but we have an amendment that says that both parties agreed to amend it to 2 street sweepings. So that's what that is.
Oh, that's great. All right, I'll make a motion that we amend the existing DW company's contract for street sweeping and have the clerk work on getting that signed with DW companies.
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Now you can go on to your review policies, Pam. Thank you.
One moment here.
Page is that on, John?
I think it's just in the.
Oh, so the other policies are in another file. I believe they're open down in the tray of all the policies are in there. It was too big to put in the meeting packet. So all the policies are in another file on your laptop.
The Explorer, got it.
It would be down below.
One of these?
Nope, down in that little tray thing down
This one?
below.
I don't know what folder it is.
The tree thing.
That folder right there? Jesus.
This one. So
Okay, thank you.
those are each of the policies. And again, it's not all of them, but it's the ones that were readily available and that we refer to all the times. In this list here, I gave you the dates they were either adopted or amended, so these would be the most current versions of them. In that list there, the ones with a star in front of them were ones that were not sent out in your meeting packet, but also were ones that the aware policy that got renewed in 2024 and the monthly pay frequency, I believe that maybe started in 2023.
Correct.
Again, I'll send those to you because you didn't get them in your meeting packet. Road and Bridge Guidelines, again, that got updated last year, the end of last year. Like I said, I didn't have access to all of this stuff when I sent meeting packet, but those guidelines were just gone over. So I think what I would suggest is if there's any of them in there that looked at that stood out that, hey, this really is outdated, or we would need to look at it, or even just because there are things in there that need to be updated. Situations have changed, processes have changed, maybe. Maybe bring them back of the ones that you think, or even staff thinks need to be updated. The aware policy, that one, there is another form. I know that it got signed back in May, but there's actually another form that needs to go with it. That's a checklist of, were the supervisors notified? Were all the employees notified? And just that's one that I think should be looked at again to make sure that we don't miss that step in doing that. Cemetery regulations, obviously that just got updated tonight. Code compliance and enforcement process, that will need to be looked at. Staff can take a look at that because it refers to, at the point that the board adopted this, the clerk was doing enforcement. So a lot of it refers to the clerk will do. Now that you have a zoning administrator doing enforcements, that should probably get amended to be more accurate. Conflict of interest policy, again, that goes to more to do with the supervisor's conflict of interest. Credit card use policy, again, it's been around for a really long time. That one, is it every year
Every year.
or, yep, every year, employees or supervisors that were issued a township credit card for their use have to sign this policy. And it's just a reminder, puts the policy in front of the staff again or supervisors again. You got a $500 credit limit. You can't spend more than 500. So again, it just puts that policy in front of it. Do you want me to keep going? Like I say, I can
So,
touch.
so there was 12 of these that were sent out, emailed out to us, right?
I don't know how many were sent.
I think I counted 12, because not all of them were emailed out to us yet, right?
The ones with the stars you did not get. Oh, and also the ones that were too big for me to send. I didn't have much of a signal. So employee handbook did not get sent out, but again, that's a work in progress. The records retention schedule, again, a very large file that did not get sent to you. And the drug DOT, I think, did not get sent to you. But again, that was one that just got passed
We
this
just
year.
did the drug one, yeah.
Data request policy, that one has to be renewed or the board has to approve that again every year in August or by August of every year. So that one got reapproved. Driveway policy and standards, again, that's, I don't know. It works, it functions, but if somebody wants to take a look at it, employee handbook, the fire department monthly pay frequency, that came into play because the firefighters used to get paid quarterly when there had to be a new agreement with the firefighters to get paid monthly. So it's a one-page doc in there. Fixed asset policy, again, that's been around for a while, but works. It's how,
How we determine what, where and classifications and on the insurance and.
and again, it's something that maybe maybe the treasurer would take a look at it to see, are those limits good? I think it's something that has to, the lifespan is more than 2 years. And it's, I'm gonna
Exceeds
spitball out there,
5,000.
exceeds $5,000. So in the asset list, we don't track all of the small stuff. In the inventory, we might, but in the asset list. So if we were ever to go to borrow some money and they want to see what are your total assets, we're not going to track all the little stuff. It's going to be the big stuff. So again, to me, that was one that was suggested to us by the auditor to set limits at that. So really it's a lifespan of more than 2 years. And I believe it was values of over 5,000. So that's what that one is. Mailbox policy, again, it looks like it's been a while since 2021. However, it works. And parks policy, that one just had a little bit of a word change in it to define resident as opposed to just a citizen. So that's what that tweak was. Otherwise, that one has stood for a long time. Records retention schedule. I'll go ahead and send that out so you have that.
I thought we just did that. Did we just do the records retention schedule?
We
That's-
did, but to your point is, well, and actually you did see the final one because nothing changed when it came back, but though the one I have actually has all the documentation that everybody at the state
Oh,
and
I
Historical Society, all the approvals. So again, just to get you that, the latest and greatest.
It's a pretty large file. That's why I was,
It is, and like I say, it wasn't something I could send with something else, but
Yeah.
then you would have it. Road and Bridge Guidelines, again, that one I did not send, but that one just had some, Road and Bridge Committee did some tweaks to that. The board approved that not too long ago, but I'll resend that one. Snow removal policy, again, it's working unless something
Yeah.
needs to change. Social media policy definitely needs to be looked at because that was built when we didn't allow any comments on the social media pages. And then the laws changed or Facebook changed their rules to where you have to allow comments. So there's something in the background there with being a government agency. And so that one does need some work. So senior center rental application again was voted on by the board. I've not heard that Sarah wants any changes to that. The streaming video retention one, that one I did want to ask you about because at the meeting, there was a meeting, Supervisor Olson brought some red line changes to it and then said it was going to go to the attorney and it didn't go to the attorney. It just came back and got approved. I just want to be sure that you're all good with that. Because like I say, just looking back at the minutes, it was like, oh, we missed a step in there. But again, the board has approved that second copy. I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring it up tonight just to see.
yeah. There was a couple changes in there. I wasn't sure. I'm pretty sure that it's not gonna be a problem, but yeah, either I can or you can have him just take a quick look at the changes, just the red line parts. I don't think that's gonna take him very long if he sees anything outstanding that we need to readdress. Otherwise, like you said, if he says everything is fine, well, then it's already been approved, so we don't have to bring it back. That'd be my opinion.
It works.
And then the new supervisor compensation policy from the spring. Oh, it's great stuff. Yeah, and then do we want to, do we want to revisit this at some point, whether it be now or into January, just to give people enough time to go through it? But if we don't have a date that we're gonna address any comments that people want, we'll be having this list just like it is next fall. If we've got a date that we need to review it, well, you're off the hook, but unless it's next meeting, but if we set a date out there, then at least we know that if you're gonna wait until the last minute and procrastinate, it's still gonna get done.
Well, your first meeting in January is a long one.
Busy one. Mhm.
So I would make it the last meeting or
I would almost. Well, item number 18 will have discussion around it with time and commitments, and then we'll be into budgeting. I think with the notes and then getting the extra ones that we've got, I think there's definitely homework. And then I would advocate to get any new supervisors up to speed. So maybe it's
More of a February. kind of
I was
thing?
gonna say after budget, because you're gonna be consumed with that and unless, there's stuff on here, obviously, we need to review. So if we have it, we can start looking at it. But yeah, hit it.
Yeah.
Late February after the annual meeting or whatever, and then we can chip away at a couple.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. Can you put that on your extended calendar, Pam?
Got it.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else on the policy review? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to 18, Mike Parker. So I've talked to the attorney. We're still getting little bits of information here and there, but I talked to the attorney. So at this present time, during this term, Mike Parker is still a supervisor. Basically, we have to look at Mike as being like on vacation because he didn't sign a resignation. So there's nothing that prevents him from showing up at the next meeting and sitting down in the spot and chairing the meeting. So because of that, we have to proceed this month as though he's just on vacation. And so there's that part of it. The next part is what happens with his new seat in January. The dates are kind of the thing that we're working around. Pam was helping me kind of figure that stuff out and navigate that a little bit tonight. From a statutory standpoint, if a supervisor that wins an election does not take his or her seat on the board within 10 days of when they're supposed to take their oath, then the board can deem that as a vacated seat. And at that point, then the board can decide how they want to move forward with filling that vacancy. That would put us out to, I think we figured about the 16th, which is 2 days past our first meeting. So the other thought is that I talked to Pam about reaching out to Mike. And if Mike is willing to come in and actually sign a resignation from that position, he's not going to fill a position as long as we've got a signed document. The attorney said then we can move forward with how we want to fill that position. So if Pam can reach out to Mike and he's willing to come in and sign a statement that he's not going to be fulfilling his position in the next term, then we can take some action either at the next meeting or in January and decide how we're going to fill that. So that's what I found out. One thing the attorney did say is since he did openly say that he was not going to be coming back, there's certain duties that Mike has that needs to just have somebody there in case somebody's needed. So I talked to the fire chief. I said, if there's a meeting that he needs representation from the board there to let me know, I'll go. I talked to Sarah. And I said, if there's anything that comes up, let me know. So I've kind of covered those bases, but he said to kind of make sure that it was more formal with the board, that I'm backing up Mike in his absence in these roles. So questions, comments?
Is it worth sending him a resignation letter and have him sign it tomorrow?
Yeah, either or, as long as it's a letter that he puts his John Hancock down on.
It'd just be nice to get this done now.
Mhm.
It would be for the effective term, not. You really, there's a point, it's almost pointless to resign from this term because you could just be absent, not. It would have to be specific that it's the elected term.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's a slap
Yeah.
in the face. So.
Well, it's formal. It does formalize it if it's
Yep,
if it's
you're right.
both.
I mean, he did it 2 weeks ago, but like you say, if we send it out, it's formal. Send it to him tomorrow. Were you serious? I mean, he gave his keys away. He said, "Don't call me anymore. I'm done. I retire." And okay,
Yeah.
Sign this so we can
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah, so clerk will get a hold of Mike and see if we can proceed with something there, but until then,
Just memorialize that the vice chair is the chair. Or I mean,
Or
it's still a
just,
title.
just fulfill.
Just the
fulfilling the
responsibilities of- oh.
responsibilities of the chairperson in that absence.
Make a motion if that's all we need to formalize the responsibilities in his absence.
Right. Motion's been made. Is it seconded? Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right, thank you for that. We get into comments. Alyssa, any treasurer comments?
Been working on budget. And budget and more budget, so that's what I got is budget. Budget brain. I guess.
All right. Well, sounds like fun. All right, Pam?
I talked with Lieutenant Douglas from Anoka County Sheriff's Office today, and he just wanted to give the township a heads up that with the new Coon Lake Public Works building over there, our deputies will be stationed out of there. He thought it would happen in January, but he said it may be February. So they will be moving their car over there, their office over there. It frees up that stall for the township, so be thinking about what that space can be used for. But not everybody gets to do it, but just remember that's where the old fire truck was, and maybe we could stop heating a big building out there and bring this one back in-house. It's a little bit, it has air conditioning, so it's a little bit better air or climately controlled than truck sitting out there. But again, maybe Public Works will be looking for it. I don't think Parks will need that space with the new space out here. So, but just a heads up on that. I did ask because we got a grant to put an antenna on the back of the building for their cell phones. And that is still our responsibility. Lieutenant Douglas is going to be checking on that because I said we have to pay insurance on that because it was a grant. And so whether they would be able to take it and repurpose it someplace else in the county or, so I guess, I don't know if I'm asking the board or just wait until we hear, but to me, that seems ridiculous to keep an antenna and keep insuring something. And there's a process we have to go through because it was grant money and how we would dispose of it and stuff, or just give it back to the county. But I can't see a need for keeping that there. It doesn't work on our cell phones. It's strictly their system. So that's where there's at, just kind of that's coming on the horizon, but
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Why did they do this?
Well, the deputies run 12-hour shifts. So they're only 8 hours here in the township and then they do 4 hours countywide. And that's a more central place for them. They still we did not have a system here to where they could upload, download their body cams or their car cams. They still had to go someplace else to do that. Over at that building, they'll be able to do that. The other thing is the deputies now take the cars home. So they don't even actually need the building here for that. And I did get to see it. I hadn't seen it. I don't know how long they've had it, but the new vehicle for Linwood is
Pretty sharp,
a what?
pretty sharp.
Yeah, it is. It is. I thought what is it? It's UTV. It's like a sport utility vehicle as opposed to a.
It's only a 6-cylinder.
Yeah, she's mad about that. It's only at $6.
And we will be having new deputies come the beginning of the year. They gave me the names, but haven't met them yet, but yep. So,
New ones to break in again.
The old
Hmm.
revolving door.
and it used to be they did not put rookies out here because they are alone out here. But, they've found that it's actually a really good area for people to get trained in on and get used to being alone. Or not going into situations knowing that they wouldn't have backup immediately, so. But we've had some really good, I mean, always Bill, but Megan's been phenomenal working with us. Oh, yep, we'll stop in and fill us in on what they've got going on, and we're able to send them out on things, just take a look at or watch this area. So it's been a much better relationship in the last few years.
I wonder if that'll stay the same, being that they're gonna.
That is one of the terms, is that the deputies still need to check in here, preferably at the beginning of their shift, but it depends on which direction they're coming from.
Get a better rate next year now? What's their response time's gonna be slower?
No, they still are 8 hours of patrol in the township.
Driving, but if they're gonna go download videos during their 8 hours or reports, they'll be.
They've already been doing that, so. Yeah.
Good.
That's all I got for you.
Thank you. Carol?
I do have something. This one's a hard one to bring up, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway. In September, it was decided that we were going to do an investigation on a claim. And on 10/8, we hired somebody. On 10/31, some of us were interviewed. And this is affecting staff. And I don't think anybody understands how much. And I think that this is hanging over somebody's head. This is December. Is this ever gonna come to an end?
Yes. So Mike Parker was the lead on this, as the chairman. And, so I haven't, other than, meeting with them with Mike the initial time, I've been hands off. So so what I can do now is, now that I am actually, filling in for Mike in capacities, now I can check and find out what's going on. My understanding when I was interviewed was that this was gonna be done 6 weeks ago. So, but again, I haven't been able to even ask the question because I wasn't the lead on it.
And one of the things that it really disturbs me is when this came up and it was discussed on the board, it kept saying it was we're investigating the process. It's not a person. Well, when she did the investigation, she was clear on people could have representation. That is more than a dang process. So I think this hanging over staff's head is not a good idea.
Mhm.
So I just want to bring it up so somebody does something about it.
I will call and find out where that's at. I agree. It needs to be closed out sooner than later, and preferably before the end of the year.
I don't have anything else.
Thank you.
When Supervisor Olson takes over the resigning supervisor, does that mean he is HR?
Guess if we need HR, I don't know if we need HR.
Well, we need HR, but nobody on this can do it, and HR doesn't answer phone calls anyways, so. I think if there's, well, I can say all day long, if there's an HR issue, let's call the person we're hiring, but that person don't answer her phone calls, so. She doesn't answer phone calls, she doesn't return phone calls, she doesn't answer emails, and she doesn't return emails. So I'm not a big fan of that person. Number two, do you want to talk about last night's meeting? Is there a reason to talk about last night's meeting?
You can do a summary of it.
Yesterday about 8:30 in the morning, I kind of got the bombshell from the gentleman who came in talking about the road in Anoka County's project from like Lexington down around Constance all the way up into Linwood on this new bike path. The gentleman came to the board about 8 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, that he wanted to get some people together, and we set a tentative date of December 12th or December 9th. Well, yesterday at 8:30 in the morning, I get a text that says, don't forget to tell everybody about tonight's meeting. So I had no idea who this was, number one. So I called the office here and I said, what, do we have a meeting tonight? Office said, we have no meeting scheduled. So I called this person back and I said, there's no meeting scheduled. I said, whoever this is, I don't know who this is. Well, the person called me and it was the gentleman who brought it up to the board. And he said, well, yeah, it's December 9th. This is the meeting. This is what we talked about. Well, I called the clerk and I talked to the clerk and we never posted for said meeting. We never knew about said meeting until 8:30 yesterday morning. So the township couldn't do a lot. So I went to the meeting on behalf of the township. Supervisor Olson walked into the meeting on behalf of the township also. Basically last night we talked about George Rell from Lexington to the south side of Linwood Lake on how they want this to go, to keep a snowmobile trail there, to put a walking, bike, hiking path there and still use our road. Best of my knowledge, this is still 10 to 15 years out. But they wanted to have a meeting on it, so I went there and Supervisor Olson was there and maybe he can add even more than I do, but it was mainly the Kiwi Club. No County Parks talked a little bit. This gentleman, Wayne Ayers, who's got the passion for this, talked quite a bit. Road Chair Kramer was there, but they were just talking about what they want to do and how they're gonna do it. How they're gonna pay for this, how they're gonna get land from the DNR because they need more land on the side of George Rell, which now is wildlife management land, and they say that's about impossible to get from the DNR. So it was an informative meeting. It's again, I don't know, Supervisor Olson could maybe say more about it, but we did that last night. Wasn't hiding anything from the township because we just couldn't tell anybody about it because we couldn't have that many people there. I called Parks. Park chair was busy. Park assistant chair, vice chair was busy, and everybody was busy. So I just went there on behalf of the township. But it was informative, but it's still a long ways away. It is a long ways away, but it's a
They
passion.
coming up Lexington?
No.
The reason I asked that is I just saw a social media post of somebody complaining about all the trees that are coming.
So
down.
they're clearing trees in between like EJ's where the new building is.
Yep.
And there's nobody who really has the answer why they're doing it. I mean,
Deer crossing.
you can all get, oh yeah, they
That's
say
what
a
they
deer,
said last night.
a deer crossing. I don't know. But that could be wrong. Or it's something with the roads to get the bigger trucks on the shoulders. Who knows? But that didn't have anything to do with it. I thought maybe it did, but it didn't.
Oh, it doesn't have anything to do with it.
No.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, I talked with Supervisor Ludke. I told him that I was gonna get prices on some safety windows on our zoning administrator and then our office. I got that proposal late tonight, did not have time to get it to the board, so I will bring it back in 2 weeks. I just did not have time to get it to the board that fast. I text the door closer vendor. He will be calling one of you two tomorrow for payment information. I texted him when I was sitting in here when I was supposed to be paying attention, but I did that, so he'll get a hold of you tomorrow, so that's it.
Great, thanks, Bob.
Yep.
Andy?
I am good, sir. Just overall great Saturday here in Linwood. Staff had event in here, breakfast with Santa. It was busy and hopping. It was a good atmosphere in both places.
Awesome.
I didn't even hear you in my deer stand, so you must have been quiet. Doesn't the fire truck usually come rolling in with
They-
Santa on it?
No, they had it staged the night.
Oh, they did, okay, that's why I didn't hear it at my deer stand. Usually you wake me up when I hear that.
All right, I have nothing to add tonight. So, quick question, before we adjourn is there any part of this
We
meeting?
got Natalie.
Oh, I didn't know Natalie was here. Oh, there you are.
Yes, I am.
I thought somebody
Oh,
was
there
looking
you
at
are.
me.
Sorry, Natalie.
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, good, you're good. I know it's so. I just wanted to bring to you guys' attention, as you're aware, the town board's audio system was installed in 2020 by Tierney Brothers.
Hear ya.
Speak up.
Oh, is that better?
Yep.
So, as you're aware, the town board's audio system was installed in 2020 by Tierney Brothers. Now they're called Bloom. Said, but while it initially served their needs, the return of full audience participation has highlighted a significant issue that I found with our current setup, especially now that our meetings are being retained for 7 years and people can go back and watch them as they feel. After reviewing a few recent recordings, it's clear that audience members speaking, supervisors conversing, and interactions away from microphones are frequently inaudible. So I couldn't hear any conversation. I know people in the at home viewing haven't been able to hear it. So additionally, audience members that don't use the handheld microphone, so nobody can hear that conversation. It makes it difficult for anybody to hear. So I would like to address these issues, and I request that the board allow me to engage Bloom or another provider, if you guys wish, to assess and implement necessary audio visual upgrades.
I personally think it's been a problem. I would suggest also looking into maybe like clip-on microphones. So that way when you sit back, we don't lose the audio. Mic
Mhm.
goes with the person, and then it also saves a lot of, some space up here on the desk.
So I can
Yeah.
connect with you, Natalie. Bloom's been out here
Yeah.
addressing it this year to kind of put together some preliminary numbers since we've started, so we can get with Mike and get that stuff updated with you, so I can partner and work with you on that.
Okay.
I've
I
had
was
him
also
out here.
Okay. I was also thinking that since there's a lot of audience members that have comments, have questions, and they don't come up to the microphone, where at least their heads are being seen, that maybe we could also get or talk to Bloom and see what options are available for getting some camera system that can allow audience participation and that the videos can retain or can see the people talking. As well as possibly adding pickup mics over the audience so that if they don't come up to the mic, at least we're covering that base, that conversations are picked up and part of the videos.
You're gonna hear everything that's going on if you do that. Hear the score of the Wild game too, so.
Well, just looking at it as a couple of the meetings that I've watched recently, going back through it, there were comments coming from the audience that no idea what was going on, but then you'd see like certain supervisors or somebody was engaging that person, but you had zero idea what was being said. It wasn't even repeated. The question wasn't repeated or the comment wasn't repeated into the microphone.
Oh.
I'm just looking to see if we can alleviate some of the gaps in conversation, since people are going to be watching these videos and it's not going to be held in the minutes, and to basically negate the thing that YouTube is muting, or, for transparency reasons, basically, to keep everything out in the open so that there's no question about it.
I think we'll have to do a better job on our end to get people to either be quiet in the audience or make sure you come up, because I know people like to just talk so we can hear them, and we're selfish. We just think if we can hear them, the world can hear them.
Right.
So maybe we just gotta be better at it too, so.
Well, I know we've had a deficiency on these mics. That's one of the biggest complaints that we have from even people that are here in the audience. A lot of times they can't hear us over the speakers. So I'm all in favor of it. I have a curiosity, not that I know much about audio, but I have a curiosity about it. So if you and Andy do get together at some point, if it's all right to give me an opportunity to listen in, I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Sure.
But I don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah, any other comments on Natalie moving forward with looking at some audio stuff?
Yeah, I'll dust off those quotes and we'll connect and we'll see about those additions she's talked about, because it would be a value add for sure, so.
Okay. I'll make a motion to allow Natalie to start researching into the boardroom audio and working with Andy and possibly myself going forward. For a second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
You
Right.
just could have said audio, or are you including visual in that as well?
All things Bloom.
All things, okay, I'll amend my motion, thank you, to include video, thanks. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. Anything else, Natalie?
Nope,
You.
thank you.
All right,
Sitting-
thanks for the suggestion.
Not a
All
problem.
right, now I'll ask the last question, which is there been anything that's been conducted tonight in this meeting that anybody feels may infringe upon data privacy? Hearing none, all right, so the video is good. And I'll entertain motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, made and seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. This meeting is done at 7:57.